Alright guys, Amp Token Flexa, Amp Coin, Amp Crypto. What is Amp Token? Here's your review from a software engineer. So Amp Token was brought to my attention by one of our family members and he really suggested that I look at it. And finally, I have the time now to take a look at it and it is a complete game changer, guys. If you're not invested in this, go invest in it because right after this video, I'm looking to put some money into this token. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what is Amp and then we're going to take a look at what is the Flexa network because they work together in order to provide collateral for transactions. So we're going to take a look at all of that. And to get you guys excited and encouraged to watch through this entire video, I just want to say that I have Shopify in the thumbnail for a reason because Shopify is going to connect with Flexa. And remember, recently Shopify connected with Affirm, which is another company that provides credit for online stores that are doing e-commerce. So that allows people without credit cards or who aren't good with using credit cards to use Affirm to buy things on a loan, which is not a great idea because if they're bad with credit, why are you still getting a loan? But it allows them to make purchases with money that they don't have. So like how Holochain is up to disrupt Amazon and Google, check out that video here. Amp is really here to disrupt Visa, Amex, and MasterCard. So with that said, if you haven't already done so, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the subscribe, and let's get into the video. First things first, we have to discuss what is Amp. So Amp is a collateral token that is designed to decentralize risk in a payment transaction, dramatically reducing the assurance costs from existing counterparty networks. Amp can really enable tokens to be conditionally allocated as collateral without requiring transfers to a smart contract. So the system really preserves custody of your assets, which improves the simplicity and safety of staking Amp tokens, which are the collateral. So that's the formal definition of it. If it doesn't really make sense, then just hold on a bit because I'm going to explain everything about what the problem is and what the real actual solution is in normal people terms. Alright, so here's the problem. The primary function of the existing payment networks is to facilitate transaction-related messaging while relying on financial institutions, for example, financial associations and banks, to mitigate risk for both the merchant and the purchaser. So when you go buy something on credit, you use a credit card. That credit card is backed by a bank. So that bank, if the payment doesn't go through, then the bank refunds the money for you, the purchaser, which is purchase protection, and they take the hit on the loss usually. So in essence, all these guys do, these existing payment networks, is pass sensitive payment information that must be interpreted and cleared by each provider, the provider being the bank. Now the thing is that data passed is susceptible to data breaches, identity theft, and fraud and loss on a massive scale. So basically what they're saying is that the existing payment networks get paid to do a really shoddy job. So here is where Amp comes in and they become the equalizer. They short circuit the whole entire existing system. So what they do is that they ensure the value of the transfer of whatever transaction is made while it is still unconfirmed. Now this confirmation can take from seconds to hours to even days. And during that time, the Amp tokens are used as collateral. Now, if the transaction is verified, then all is good. The Amp tokens from that previous transaction that is now verified can be used for another transaction to collateralize. But if that transaction is deemed as unverified, it's a loss, and it was just a bad transaction, then Amp tokens are used as collateral. So the Amp tokens that were used as collateral for that transaction is now liquidated to cover the losses. So if you're worried that liquidation will cause you to lose money, well, yeah, it's going to cover some losses, so it will lose money. But the idea is when it's at scale, you're going to make so many more confirmed transactions that the confirmed transactions will outweigh the losses. So that's how you really make money. But the whole entire economic value of the Amp token is really based on its use within the Flexa network. So Amp is backed only by its literal use and not any extrinsic asset. So really the entire supply of Amp that is distributed into the ecosystem is really meant to be staked as collateral for wallets to provide payment services. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the video. So again, the Amp token is designed specifically for use as collateral and the token supply is fixed. Now the core innovation of Amp is something called the partition strategy, which is very complicated to explain. But in short, in addition to addresses, they have something called partitions. Now, like addresses can hold tokens, partitions can also hold tokens. But the catch is that they have rules that must be followed. For example, the address of a collateral manager of a partition can forbid the moving of tokens from a partition because it must follow some predefined staking rule. So the important term here is rule. For these partitions, they have rules and they have a manager that manages all the tokens that are pooled in that specific partition. So they have many different kinds of collateral managers and partitions, and we're not even going to get into the details because it is very, very complicated. But what you need to know is that this makes sense because the whole idea of this is probably what makes it possible for AMP to collateralize transactions. For example, having rules like you can't withdraw your stake unless you do a certain amount of transactions with your stake, that is having staking duration requirements or withdrawal limits, all of that makes sense because that will keep the network healthy and running. And for reference, if you're wondering what the fine term of a collateral manager is, it's basically a smart contract that manages AMPs on behalf of a specific collateralization strategy. So it's there to allow, deny, and redirect tokens in order to keep the whole network running and healthy. Alright, now that we have a good understanding of what is AMP, now we have to discuss what is Flexa. So Flexa is a merchant payment network that is designed to enable universal acceptance of digital assets. Payments for goods and services are instantly authorized without fraud and with less fees than the traditional methods. Flexa works with native point-of-sale POS systems and online platforms to enable payment in the typical checkout experience that we have now. And to give you guys just a little bit of an idea, Shopify partnered with Affirm. Affirm is now worth $18 billion. Give or take. But I think Affirm only works with online marketplaces, so online checkout experiences. What Flexa offers is both real life and online. So think about that for a bit. Now, in order to guarantee all merchant payments without trusting external protocols and network participants, we need decentralized collateral. Decentralized collateral is critical to Flexa because each transaction is fully collateralized, and this whole idea eliminates fund verification and payment fraud. AMP token is the collateral in the Flexa network to decentralize risks. The tokens are staked by applications and communities to really enable this. Now, to incentivize supplying collateral, network transaction revenue funds the open market purchase of AMP tokens for redistribution of network rewards. So basically, when you are staking, the transaction fees that they charge to the merchants to use the Flexa network, those transaction fees go to you. But really, stick around for a little bit more because I'm going to completely break this down to see how those network transaction fees really work and where they go. But before we do that, have you checked out my book? I actually wrote a book called Leverage on other ways to make passive income while we sleep. So make sure to check that out. It's a free book, so why don't you get it? And make sure to subscribe. Alright, so let's talk about how these fees work on the Flexa network. So merchants are charged a small percentage-based fee, which is less than what they currently pay with credit card fees. Now, these fees are then used to buy up AMP tokens for autonomous distribution to collateral contracts. So it looks like these fees are used to buy back tokens like share buybacks for stocks, but I'm not 100% sure on this. But if it is, then the price of those AMP tokens should go up. And the whole idea is that money goes where money is. That's why the wealthy in most countries control most of the wealth. In addition to that, stakers are also rewarded with these fees. So guys, this basically lets you become your own credit card company and outplace and kill both Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. So really, the whole play here is that entire system is designed to ensure that network value is captured within the AMP tokens themselves. And AMP is the first project to let participants stake collateral while maintaining custody of the underlying asset. Now, the price of the token is based on a combination of user demand for staking yield, spending utility, and the expectation of future growth. The idea is when you stake AMP, that will increase the overall utility, which causes and incentivizes more transactions and users to join the network, which ultimately makes your AMP tokens more valuable. Man, sometimes I surprise myself that I am able to understand this stuff at all because it's very complicated. Don't you think so? But it's also really cool. So this whole idea is it is a self-enforcing network that just grows to infinity and beyond. So one last thing before we close it out, go to the Flexa Network Solutions and take a look at who their partners is. Their partners is NCR, Clover, and Shopify partners. So Shopify is one of their partners. And if you open a new tab and you go search for Shopify revenue, you will see that it's $2.93 billion. So it's almost, give or take, $3 billion. So right now, AMP is valued at almost $1 billion, $912 million. So it is severely undervalued. And it really looks like the places where you can get it is at Gemini, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Bancor, and Gate. So I think the best bet to get this would be at Gemini if you are living in the US. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like a lot of people say, 2021 is really the year of the altcoins. So let me know what you think about AMP and whether you're investing in it. Remember, I'm not giving you financial advice. It might get you wrecked. But now you have another coin that you might want to keep your eye on. Other than that, if you haven't already, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and check out these other videos on cryptocurrency and passive income. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.